My name is Yolanda Rendón Guerrero. I am originally from Andalusia, Spain, where I studied architecture at ETSA Sevilla. My job role is Research Innovation Fellow at ATiC, Assistive Technologies Innovation Centre, which is part of the College of Art and University of Wales Trinity St David. At ATiC, I have the opportunity to work in collaborative projects coming from a diverse range of fields to improve humans' health and well-being. At ATiC, we have a multidisciplinary team where we all come from different backgrounds. I come from architecture, we also have chemistry, art, product design, biomechanics, and we all get to use the different skills we learn throughout our lives and career pathways into different projects that come along. So I think we are somehow forced to use creativity and look at projects from a creative approach. Just from the beginning, the fact that we all come from different backgrounds, have different experiences, and we are maybe used to working in a different way. But I think that makes the projects richer, and you get to understand different perspectives, and that is one of the most powerful things I have learned from working at ATiC. So I grew up in Costa del Sol, Marbella, but then when I was a teenager we moved back to Cadiz, which still is Andalusia. But then I got to study in Sevilla when I went to university, where I studied architecture, and that's where I found out that I didn't only want to be an architect following my degree, but I also wanted to learn how to be a maker. I had to go to make a model, my very first model, my first year of architecture, and I decided to go to a Fab Lab, which is part of the architecture school in Sevilla, lucky for me. And that's when, after I saw the machines, they have the atmosphere where people were just sitting around tables, working together, not necessarily on the same projects, but they got to ask other people what they thought about what they were doing, or what, if they needed expertise on different fields that they didn't really know much of. And it really broadens my perspective, and it made me open my mind. And I did realize, well, maybe I don't have to be just what I studied to be, and I don't have to be only an architect, but I can also learn other skills alongside my degree. And I can also use those skills later on in life to find a job that I'm passionate about. And that's, I guess, how I end up in ATiC. I did some work in Amsterdam, where I also work at Fab Lab. And I also did different collaborative projects with different people in design and also teaching and learning. And then I moved to Wales. I did some architectural works, designing mainly glazing facades. And then I discovered ATiC, and I completely, once I saw the labs and the equipment that we have, and got to meet the team, I realized that it was going to become one of the most important parts of my career pathway. One thing that I would tell myself if I could go back when I was a student, it would be to focus on finishing the degree, but make sure that that is not the only important thing in my career, that I also get to learn different skills and maybe take a few months to get to learn from other experts in different fields, no matter if it's a little outside of the school. I think sometimes you have to make some research yourself and try and think a little outside of the box and put yourself into situations where maybe you don't feel that comfortable, but definitely you will learn from. One of the things I enjoy the most about my job is working with people that come from different backgrounds, not only from their career experience but also their life experiences. I think it is very important to me to work with people from different countries that have different cultures, and you will really learn a lot from them. I think it makes you more open-minded, and it makes you realize that there is no only one truth, and it's not only what you say that is right, or that is the only perspective possible. And I think that is really important, that we all get to bring our opinions to the table and discuss that and make that part of the projects that we work on. I think universities still have a lot of room to create spaces for students where they can actually get together, meet other people with similar backgrounds that ended up having a slightly different career pathway, or maybe not, you know, and get to learn from all of them, all of those different experiences and diverse culture. And I think that is very important, because having a conversation with someone that was you a few years back can really open your mind and make you realize, inspire you, that there might be other possibilities that you weren't considering. The most important skill I learned while studying, I'd say it is resilience. It was never an easy job. Some projects, you know, it would take a long time to work it out, and maybe at the architecture school there are different approaches, different ways of working than I was used to in high school and my previous years as a student. So I'd say resilience is something I learned from being a student and from my first experiences working after I finished my degree. It was never easy, and you know, well, it wasn't always easy, but I also learned along the way, and it doesn't mean it has to be easy so you are happier. Sometimes challenges also teach you valuable lessons. The biggest obstacle while being a student, or to try and, you know, trying to think out of the box and finding a job that's not necessarily what seems to be the norm for an architect. To me, I would say socially constructed ideas. We sometimes ourselves can become our worst enemy, and we think, oh, we have to do this way, and we have to do this at this time in our lives, and otherwise it doesn't really work. And we limit ourselves sometimes. It's not only our fault, it's also the system and, you know, society telling you that you have to do things in a certain way. But I think you have to try doing what's established as the norm. If you don't like it, try find something different. And it's never too late. You can always go back. You can always try and find something that you like better. It's not that you have to make from your hobby a job, but if you want to do that, you know, do that. It really depends on different people's experiences and different people's skills and lives. And I think it's important to keep that and be open-minded about it, and not feel guilty if you decide to do something that's slightly different to what you were meant to be doing with your degree. So some tips would be probably that, to stay open, try and learn skills, you know, focus on finishing your degree, but also try and learn skills that will allow you to be flexible, to adapt into different career scenarios, different career pathways that you might not have in mind at the moment, but just staying open-minded about it will allow you to learn different things that you wouldn't have learned if you had just gone straight to what's the norm and what is there for you to do. Also, I think that job roles at the moment, or when you're studying, might not be the same job roles that are there after you finish your studies 5 years later, or when you try and make a career change 10 years later. So I think it is important to carry on learning. We don't stop learning when we finish degrees. It's not that leaving university will give us a stop and then we know everything we could possibly know. I don't think that is a thing. If you ever stop asking yourself questions, you will stop learning, and that would be a loss. I think I would become quite a boring being if I ever do that.